Welcome back to Everyday Writers, your one-stop shop for demystifying the writing process. I'm Crystal McQueen.
And I'm your other host, Jordan S. Keller. Thank you for joining us on today's episode. Today, we're discussing Lee Doyle's newest release of Hearts Crazier Than Mine, which will be available in both digital and audiobook formats.
Lee Doyle's work has appeared in Calyx, Consequence, Nostos, The Healing Muse, and Unbroken. Her first novel, The Love We All Wait For, won Best Novel at the East of Eden Writers Conference. She holds an MFA from the Bluegrass Writers Studio at Eastern Kentucky University and shares a lair in San Rafael, California, with a black lab who is adorable named Jasper. Thank you for being on the show with us, Lee.
Great. It's great to be here.
So Lee and I met at the Bluegrass Writers Studio, and Lee had already published The Love We All Wait For. She had already published The Love We All Wait For as the original hardback novel, and it has recently been re-released as Hearts Crazier Than Mine. So Lee, one, can you talk about why the title changed, but then also give us a synopsis of the book?
Well, first of all, I would just want to say how exciting it is to have it in audiobook because and just fabulous narration. As you said, it was the hardcover was published under the title of The Love We All Wait For, which wasn't my original title. My publisher at the time really wanted the word love in the title. And so yeah, I think, they had done some research that said, I don't know where the research was done, whether this is in fact still true but that the word love in the title tends to potentially sell more books.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I deferred to my publisher, of course, and I suppose I could have pushed back, but I always wanted the title Hearts Crazier Than Mine because I feel like it's much more aligned with kind of the tone of the book, but also the main character, the protagonist, whose name is Sheila. She's 17. The book takes place over the course of basically the summer and fall, where everything in her life that could happen happens. Everything that could possibly happen happens. She falls for the guy who shows up out of nowhere, who she shouldn't fall for. She has a slow unraveling fallout with her best friend. Her mother is marrying, her father is deceased, and her mother is marrying a farmer in town who she doesn't like, and her brother's going to joining the Marines. This is set in 1975, so we're coming on the heels of post-Vietnam War, and people have a lot of different feelings. Well, probably similar to today. Your brother's joining the Marines. You're not so crazy about that, especially if you're close, as Sheila and her brother Josh are very close.
Yeah, you are right, though. The Heart's Crazier Than Mine, as somebody who read both the original hardback and then also did the audiobook narration, Heart's Crazier Than Mine just epitomizes just the difficulty of the story and just that difficulty, that coming of age of 17, where you think you're an adult and you realize you're just not.
You're not. And
yeah, to be fair, I think she's pretty precocious. She does have a wise streak in her, but she still is just 17. And I think that gets her into trouble sometimes, thinking she's more adult than she is.
Okay, so I'm sorry. I think just because we spent so much time in this book, but there's just so many parts where Sheila is treated like an adult because she does make those smart decisions, but she's still a kid, so she still makes the stupid decisions. But because people have always told her that, like, she's really smart and intelligent and wise and go to her for like advice, then suddenly it's like, well, obviously this is also a good decision because I made it. And so there's just this push-pull of she's a smart girl, but she's still a girl.
That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And there's just so much going on around her with the crazy people in her life,
Yeah.
and they're just people, you know, but yeah, for sure, for sure.
Would you mind talking a little bit about, so when the book was initially released to its re-release, did you do any changes to the manuscript? And if so, how did you sort of juggle like keeping the book as you wrote it and then any changes to like bring it up to the writer you are today, if that makes sense?
Well, it's such a good question because I was determined. I mean, I have other projects I'm working on,
Mhm.
and my intention was not to revise it, but to make some minor changes that reflect the writer I am today versus, you know, when I
Yeah.
wrote it, you know, a number of years ago. And we just become better and better writers, as you both know. I mean, and
Yeah, you're always improving.
you're always improving. And I think, you know, to a reader isn't necessarily going to cringe at something, you know, but because, you know, we're always improving as writers. Like there were places where I just went, no, that's too cringy for me. I want to change it. I did take out one chapter. I remember Crystal and I talked about this, and it was right in the middle of the book. And I remember when I wrote it, it seemed like it belonged there. I mean, it's the main character, who Sheila, has left town, and I won't go into detail why she's left, but it's, you know, kind of the beginning of her, you know, coming out of everything that's gone on, but and kind of facing up to a number of truths in her life and losses. But she stops at this beach town and meets these people. And it was like, oh, more characters, interesting. But it just, when I read it again, I thought, well, this isn't really advancing the story at
Mhm.
all. I mean, it was sort of like, the middle of books, I don't know if you guys experience this, but the middle point can be the hardest to write in a
Oh,
novel.
yes.
And like I often know how they're going to begin and how they're going to end, but it's that middle point where you can just, you know, it's like it can just V down into like, why are we here? Why are we here in this point in the middle of the novel? It's not really moving it forward. Yeah. So does that answer your question?
It does. And
Yeah.
the like, what makes you cringe, you take out. That's like 100%. I was in that same boat and why did I write that? Like,
Yeah.
easy deleting and changing.
Yeah.
Um,
I'd say the other thing that was super, I mean, interesting for me and actually helped me hear it as a story that just as a listener, it was so interesting because of how Crystal narrated it. She really embodied like the story in a new way. You know, obviously it's audio, but
mhm.
I think the sound of her voice and the way she's able to kind of capture the characters, I found myself when we were, you know, producing it, listening as a reader, as a listener, and not
Oh,
as the author. And that was super exciting for me. Yeah.
Well, that actually just took my next question because I was
yeah.
going to ask, like, you know, can you talk a little bit about like what the experience was? But first, I just have to say I am still so honored that you trusted me with your book. You know, like there was a lot of back and forth that we had on characterization, on motivations, on, you know, would somebody do something in this situation? And that I think I there was just, you know, Lee, you and I have been critique partners for years now. And so there was just a lot of that too, that I just felt like so flattered and honored that you'd be like, well, do you really feel like Sheila would say this when you are the author? Like that is your character. But there were a lot of times, not a lot of times, just there were times in the book where I would, you know, write to Lee and be like, yeah, hey, this doesn't come across as like can we move the movement around, like, you know, because like it doesn't sound right reading it out loud versus being on the page it sounds fine, like that's exactly, you can tell exactly what's going on. But sometimes you would lose who was talking, and So there was just a lot of back and forth between you and me where we were like, okay, what's going to happen in this scene to make it so that it stays true to the book, but comes across right, I guess, in the narration. So what advice would you give to other authors that are considering looking at that audiobook option for themselves? Like what would you look at moving forward in picking a new narrator, or even like the work that you're working on right now with Ava and Robbie, which is a beautiful story?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I don't think thinking about, well, if this were an audiobook, you have to write it as it as it comes, as it appears on the page. And I feel like the tweaks that we made were more related to things that I would have done that I would have done if I had given it an even closer edit then. But that said, I guess the thing with having another person read your story is really, I think, keeping an open mind about how a narrator can make the story. It's still the same story, but it's a completely different experience to be listening to a narrator versus reading it on a page. It's I mean, I just think it's almost like a different book, I don't know if you understand if I'm making any sense, but.
Well, I know that like when I listen to a book, I'll hear a character in my head, like that person reading it, the attitude and things like that. But if I'm just reading it on the page, I will hear it in my own voice, and I will instill attitude and character. So I feel like maybe if I'm interpreting what you're saying correctly, it's just that maybe you don't have to work in the same way when you read a book as if you're listening to it, because somebody's providing that characterization, the irritation, the attitude, the age of the character. I mean, I did a voice for the little girl in the book, and that was cringy. You want to talk about stuff that was cringy, like having
You
to do
did great. No, you got
voices.
there. You got there. You got there with Annie, Yeah.
But I do see what you're saying, because you feel the characters differently. You're not imposing your own thoughts. You're getting what the audiobook narrator is putting onto those characters. That's really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I don't listen to a lot of audiobooks. I'm still more of a page, I like to read it on a page. I mean, I don't know. I think there are a lot of people who do both, or maybe
both.
it's one of the, yeah.
Yeah. I'm a big fan because I walk to and from work. And so when I walk to work and come back, I always have an audiobook going. And then I have a physical book sitting on my coffee table.
Yeah.
So.
My issue is when I'm listening to audiobooks, if it gets to a really good spot, like I just have to sit and listen. I can't do anything else. So like, might as well just read it. But you guys have already kind of discussed this a little bit, but kind of talk about what was it like working together for Crystal to narrate your book, Lee? Where like, did you supply notes on how you wanted certain things read? Did you kind of hand over full control?
No.
What was kind of that process like?
No, I mean, Crystal, why don't you respond to that?
We just were in constant communication. We would have phone calls, we would text, we would send each other emails. I would record it. She would listen. She would find missing words. She would say, hey, this doesn't sound like the character. Hey, this, maybe you lost the voice here. Thank you so much for reading this, but actually this doesn't make any sense. Can we change this paragraph? So there was just a lot of communication.
Right. That was on me though.
No. But I don't think that most audiobooks are produced this way. I don't think that the author generally, from my experience and from like the classes that I've taken and all of the different sessions that I've done is that the author turns it over and the audiobook narrator just like does what they can. Like you've got somebody who edits work and then you get more work based on what you did. That was not our interaction. Our interaction was chapter by chapter. What do you think? What's the motivation here? Are we maintaining it? Especially because Lee was changing a book that she had written 20 years ago to the amazing writer, that she is now. It's like really hard to let go and be like, I would not write that today,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, go ahead. What did you think of
No,
the whole
I think
experience?
it was super collaborative, and that was just fun, and at times, yeah, it was a really an illuminating experience to hear how my vision for a particular passage or how that came through in your voice, and one of the things, one of my both my strengths and my weaknesses as a writer is description and sensory language. And I
It's
think
beautiful.
thank you. And you did a beautiful job with the landscape descriptions. And as I said, it's my weakness because I can tend to overwrite. I think a lot of times, our strength is also our weakness. Yeah.
Well, and so, okay, so you say that description is your weakness and stuff like that, but I just also want to thank you so much for all of the patience that you had with me because I was just learning. I was trying to figure it out. I think that, we went through character voices in the first couple of chapters at least 3 different times. And so, like, for me, the narration of the landscape was the easiest part. For me,
Mhm.
the hardest part was picking a voice and sticking with it. And now even when I listen to audiobooks, I'm like, oh, they flip voices. I hear it.
Oh, you do hear it.
I,
Wow.
I hear it. I don't know if other
Yeah.
people hear it, but I
Yeah.
definitely notice all the
Yeah.
things that are running through my brain going, okay, did I say it in the same tone? There was a point where I was narrating a grandmother and I think I made her sound like a drunk sorority girl at one point.
Yeah.
And
We fixed that.
Fix it in post.
This is Sheila's grandmother. Yes, and she gets drunk at the wedding at her daughter Sheila's mother's wedding, marriage to this farmer, and she just not kind of a little bit of a classic scenario where grandma drinks too much.
It was bad. It was bad, but we did fix it. But just there was a lot of collaboration that I don't think other people that go through this experience have. And I don't know, like I don't know that I could top the experience of working with you because you are such a close friend, because I do love your book so much. And so there was so much of it that was just going back and forth with, well, what does Sheila do here? Oh, it was almost like workshopping at some point where like you're like, well, I think the voice should do this. And I'm like, well, I think that the motion should be here.
Uh-huh.
So
Uh-huh.
that it
Yeah,
makes it a little easier. So I don't know. It was
very
just
collaborative. Yeah, I mean, I learned a lot just working with you and how, just how it works and yeah, super fun project. And the people who have listened to it that I have spoken with just love it, really love it. So
there's always a secret part in my brain where I'm like, do you really? Like, are you just saying it to be nice to me because you know me?
yeah, well, these people don't know you.
That's a fair point.
That is fair. That is fair.
They
All
may
right.
know me.
The narrator is still a secret.
Yeah, but I think I mean, just to make a point about that. I mean, I think as writers, and writers are listening or watching this, like I think at some point we have to trust that people are telling us the truth,
Mhm.
and and if they're not, I mean, I remember this one person read it when it was out in hardback and she said, "Oh, it was cute." I'm like, that there is nothing cute about this novel. I mean,
There's
it just,
really
Oh,
not. Oh my
oh
gosh.
my God, it was,
makes you wonder if she even read it.
well, I don't think she liked it.
Oh,
Is that the equivalent of like somebody showing you a picture of their baby and you're like, yeah, that's a baby?
Yeah.
That's
Well, I mean,
maybe.
the thing I think that I mean, again, we read things into what people say to us, right?
Mhm.
Depending on where my sense was, Sheila has a relationship with Buck, who is the bad. I don't know if he's not a bad guy. He's just, yeah, he's pretty unscrupulous. And he's 26 and she's 17.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Hmm.
it's
Yeah,
yeah, there's
there's
a
other
lot.
things. Read the book. There's other
Yeah,
things. He's not
yeah.
a good guy.
No, he's really not. No, no. And her stepdad's the one who steps in and gets rid of him. So, it turns out he's the good guy, really.
Yeah.
But I feel like every I don't want to say every, I hate superlatives, but there are so many women, including myself, that have had an adult do something that they're like, this is for your own good, and you're like, don't tell me how to be. And so it's definitely that feeling where the stepdad steps in and gets rid of this guy and she's just irate, and I'm like, okay, as a mom, like, he's totally right, but also as a girl who was once 17, like, I get your
Yeah,
anger at him either. Like,
yeah,
that's
for sure.
unforgivable.
For sure. Yeah.
So, Lee, before we go, because we are running out of time, I just wanted to ask you about some of your other work. I know that on Substack you have Birdseeds. I am a avid reader and subscriber. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that and how you got started with it?
Uh, okay, before I do that, I just want to touch on what I'm working on
Oh,
currently as far
yes.
as the novel. And then yes, would can touch on my Substack, which yeah. So the novel I'm currently working on and I have been tinkering away with at for quite a while now is called the working title is Last Tree in the Car Forest. And it is about a brother and sister who are born and raised in Louisville, Kentucky, and then end up in California. And it's set in 1987, and then in the 19 late mid to night middle to late 1960s. So the current structure, and I'm still kind of playing with this, is the sister who's older is looking for her brother, and he's got issues with addiction, and we discover that he is, well, I'm not going to say where he is because that'll spoil the whole thing.
Yeah, don't say where he is because I
Yeah.
still don't know where he is. We have not
Yeah,
gotten to that part yet.
yeah, but so it's structured in two time periods, two narrators, the sister in the 80s and the brother in the 60s. And yeah,
It's beautiful. It is beautiful. It is just gorgeous. You're such a great writer.
thank you. Thanks. So as far as my Substack goes, I one of the things I love, kind of one of my side passions is writing about art and artists. And so my Substack's kind of a combination of personal narrative, and then sometimes I will weave in art and creativity, or I will spotlight a particular artist and explore kind of their creative process. Um, yeah, so
So that's all the time we have on today's bonus episode of Everyday Writers. Lee, can you tell our listeners where they might find more about you and your writing?
sure, you can find me on my Instagram at Lee W Doyle, LeeWDoyle. And then my Substack is just Lee Doyle, Leedoyle.
It's all birdseed, right? Like, can't you search birdseed?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
Okay.
sure.
Of course, we'll have those links down in the show notes below for everybody.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And join us next time where Jordan and I will talk about tips and tricks for writing to a deadline. And if you love what you hear on Everyday Writers, don't forget to click that subscribe button.
And don't forget that every day is a good day to write. We'll see you next time.